Okay, we're up to Daf Lamed Zayin Amid Beis, and we're learning Ilu Nishmas, Imi Marosi, Esther Bas Shlomo Zalman Ha Levi. So the Mishnah had Machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hill regarding the matanos of a chatas. How much do you have to put on in order to b'diavad b'yotza? So according to Beis Shammai, it was 2. According to Beis Hill, it was 1. Gemara suggested this was machlokes where the yesh aim lemikra or yesh aim lemesiris. That how do you go after what takes primacy, the way it's read or the way it's written? So according to Beis Shammai, Basuka, it was written karnish, which is 6, and 4 lemitzvah and 2 la'akev. According to Beis Hill, it's only 4 times because karnish is written chaser and written mali once, so it's 2 chaser, 1 mali is 4. And therefore, shalish the mitzvah b'achal akiv. The Gemara suggested another reason that perhaps Beis Shammai goes after both mikra and mesiris. So the mikra would add another, would make 6. The mesiris put it down to 5, and 5 would be 4 lechatchila and 1 b'diavad. That's the way. Now the Gemara is going to go ahead and challenge that if you're going to learn. You combine the yesh aim lemikra, yesh aim mesiris, we might have other problems with other halachos. So we're beginning on Lamed Zayin Amid Beis, about 6 lines up. Elamiata, l'teitafos regarding the mitzvah of tefillin. Now it's written 2 times chaser and 1 time malay. So harikan arba, if you go after the mesiris, it's 4. Ahani kra, it would be 6. Bahani mesiris, chamisha, so 6 and 4, the difference between would be 5. Right? Chamesh batiyavos lemevat. Does anyone hold that the tefillin, the bottom of the tefillin would be 5? Says Gemara, no. Savalok Rabbi Akiva. Damar tat bekatvei shtayim. Tat in the language of the Kataf means 2, and pat ba'afriki is shtayim. So pat is a total of 4. So therefore, it's not 5. Brings to mind the Gemara in the Sefer. The Sefer Magolas Hayom on Masechet Sanhedrin. Yes, the Chora, how can it be possible to go ahead and ascertain, like Rabbi Akiva, the amount of bottom of tefillin based upon a foreign language, Katve and Afriki? So he says a big yisoid. He says when HaKadosh Baruch Hu went ahead and was mavalbal the oilam, but the dor haflaga, right? So he went ahead and made them speak different languages. But every language of the 70 languages that Kodesh Baruch Hu spread out, they each have what? A remnant of Lashon Kodesh. So when it says tat min pat, tat be'katfi, and pat ba'afriki, that's from the remnants of Lashon Kodesh. So it's not what? A foreign language. Nice pshat. Elamiata. If you're going to go ahead and darshan both the Mesiris and the Kri, you have a problem. It says basukas. So it's written chasr twice, and it's written male once. So the Kri is 6, and the Mesiris is 4. Hani mikra, hani Mesiris, kamishu dafnasa by now. But is anyone who holds you have to make 5 walls for a sukkah, a pentasukkah? No one holds that way. So it says, "Where chosam chat krok." Over there, what one of the pasuk kule lukufei, one of the pesukim is what is totally for the mitzvah. So if 6, you take one of the pesukim is 4, and chad l'sichacha, and one is for the schach, and that's 3. Asihilchasa, Allah comes along and garata l'shlishis u'kimta tepach. That Allah mishmisina that the third wall could be a tepach. Elamiyata, if you're going to dash in the Kriya and the Ksiv, regarding a woman who's yoledes. Now the halacha is a woman who is yoledes for the keva, she's tummy for 14 days, and any dam she sees up to 80 days, 66 days later, is dam tahar. So the way it's written is shvuayim, which is 2 weeks. But the way it's pronounced, it's pronounced Shurayim, but it's written Shivim, it's written as 70. So, you'd have the total of 42. Machlokes Rashi and Taisus, how you get this cheshbon. Taisus makes it very easy. Half of 70 is 35, half of 14 is 7, 7 and 35 is 42. So l'chayr should 42. Deishani ha'achasam d'chsiv kinidasa, that the Shavuayim should be like kinidasa, and then the keva tailored v'tamish Shavuayim kinidasa. So nida is only for 7 days. So obviously it doesn't mean 42 days. It means a number that's close to what? To 7, which would be 14. V'tani ma'islam hacha. Okay, so we have that one Tana who learns out base Hillel from there, from the Masaris and the Mikra. And now we have another Mandiyam. And now it says 3 times. It says the Fechiba 3 times. Now, it says, these are speaking about the carbon of a chatas. Vas kol chol bo yaktir hamizbecha, chel zevach hashlamim. You should burn it like the zevach hashlamim. V'chipo lav akayim mechataso. The kayim will be mechapa for his chet. V'nislach lo. And we'll get slicha for him. So notice it says v'chipo and it says v'nislach. Farther in pasuk lamed aleph in Vayikra Dalet, that's kol chel b'yaser. It says v'chipo lav akayim v'nislach lo. Finally, in Lamed Hey, it's Kochal B'Yasir V'Chibuloi V'Nislach Loi. So he has 3 times by the Chatos. It says V'Chibuloi V'Nislach Loi. Now, the question is you need a pasuk to tell me that what by Seir, it says one by the Seir of the Nasi and the Seir of the Kispa of the regular person. You have to tell me that what you have to go ahead and tell me and learn that one. They need the pasuk to tell me that if you do 3, you don't need all 3. So mifnei hadin, the din would be that you would need all 4. That would be ma'akiv. What the din means, like a kal v'chorim or a svara. Mifnei sheyachol, mifnei hadin, sheyachol v'aloi dinhu. Nemra domim lamata. It says domim on the korbanos that are below the chut hasikra, such as the oila and the asham. V'nemra domim lamayla, and it says domim by the chatas, which is above the chut hasikra. Ma matan domim amur lamata shenosnim matana achas kiper. Av domim amur lamayla shenosnim matana achas kiper. So why would I need a pasuk of a chiper to tell me that you need 1? I would know it from a svara. After all, it says damim below and damim above, and we've already ascertained that 1 below by an oila or an asham works. It's only chatas is the machlokes. There's another direction to go in. Zu nemra damim bifnim. It says by inside a chatas. It says that you should put the blood, sprinkle in front of the praiches, and put it on the golden mizbeach 4 times. V'nemra damim b'chutz. Ma dam manum bifnim from the chatas pinimiyos. As we saw in the Mishnah, you need all 4. So therefore, so too the carbon chatas, if you do missing any of the 4, so in other words, I've got a problem. By a carbon chatas, which direction do I go in? Do I compare it to an oila, or do I compare it to a chatas pinimios? If I compare it to an oila, then one would do the job, like Beis Hillel. If I go ahead and compare it to the chatas panemius, then you would need all 4. So which direction do you go in? Near lemi doime. I have both ways to compare it to. Donen chutz michutz. I can darshan chatas panemi chitzonius from an oila chitzonius. There is only another chitzonius, oila chitzonius. No, parhel and dovshatzi was. I'm sorry that this part of it is rough. But I'm saying outside from outside. They ain't done a chutz mibifnim, rather than that go from the inside. So if you go in that direction, then 1's enough. Oy klach derech zu. Danim chatas v'arba kronos, mi chatas v'arba kronos, v'yochia chutz shein chatas v'arba kronos. But by every chatas, you have to go ahead and daub 4 times, whether it's on the mizbeach hakitzayna or the mizbeach on the inside. And therefore, and this 4. So in other words, there's a means to think that that's the direction to go in, and not to compare it to an asham or a oila, which is bachutz, where you're going to be in srika shnaim shein arba. So if I go in that direction, then I would need all 4. And in Mele, if I go in that direction, I'm going to need psukim to darshan that 1 does the job. Talmud loyme, therefore it says v'chiper, v'chiper, v'chiper. Let's darshan. V'chiper afa b'shlei nasin el shalosh. V'chiper af b'shlei nasin el shtayim. V'chiper af b'shlei nasin el achas. So once the v'chiper, so this is the other pshat in Beis Hillel. The first direction was what? Yesh aim le misairis. The second pshat is v'chiper, and therefore what? V'chiper, even 1, 2, 3, as long as you have 1, that does the job. Fred the Gemara, how can you have it for a drasha? I need it by the nasi, I need it by the chatas, the kispa, and the sira, that it's mechaper. I don't need it for that. Ravam, Barada, Mori Asberli, my master, my father told me, Amakra, v'chiper v'nislach lo. As he pointed out, by each one, it says v'chiper lo v'nislach lo. It says v'nislach lo, v'nislach lo. Zui kapara, zui slicha. So why did I have to say slicha? To tell me that that's mechaper. Memela, I don't need the v'chiper to tell me it's mechaper. I know it from v'nislach lo. Memela, it's extra to teach me 1, 2, 3, but as long as I have one, it's good. So Basil has two mekaimis, either yesh aim the Messiris or Messiris the Mikra, depending how you're going to dash in there, or what, or the chiper. Fred the Gemara Kasha. Why do you opt to go in the direction of the chiper, 1, 2, 3? I can go another direction. Aim of the chipa afa pishlei nasin el shalosh lamaila v'achas lamata. Right? If you only give three above, it's again you're speaking about a carbon chatas. So maybe three above and one below. Maybe even two and two. Maybe you didn't put any above, only below. So in other words, how do I know it's going on the number of the zerikas of the kapara, right? How much you did above? Maybe it's speaking that it's going on the location, and therefore maybe 2 and 2 or 3 and 1 or even 3 and 0 would be 3 below and 0 above. How do you know it's speaking about the amount? Maybe it's speaking about the location on the mizbeach above the chut sikra or below the chut sikra. So Mavada Bar Yitzchak in Cain bitaltas taras avakronos. If you can go in that direction, say that 3 below would work. That means below the chut sikra there are no horns, and the whole purpose of the chatas is to daub it on the horns. So Memele, you can't possibly go in that direction. And it must be v'chiba, and the direction is 1, 2, 3. As long as you do one, like Beis Hillel, it would be an acceptable b'diavad carbon. If that's the direction of v'chiba, ein achinami. So what's your kasha? What? So the question is, how do you know that the v'chiba is going on the amount of three? Because maybe it's going on location. So the Gemara says that you can have a half a minute to go ahead and go on location, meaning 3 below and none above, because you mean mevatel the whole Torah of Kronais, which are above the Chodas Sikra. And Fred the Gemara, and the Torah says v'chiba, it says it's mevatel. So what's your kasha? So it says the Gemara, Omarava, Eile Tavish Etzar Shalosh, which is something like Shalosh Havyomer, Eila Karanos. I would say that is what if if you needed to go ahead and say that 3 below and none above, then you would have to say 4. In other words, you need a fourth one below to say that four is good. When it says 3, obviously, therefore, it must be going on the 3 chronos and not on the amount. Because again, that would have to be the fourth or 4 below. And so it says 3, it's going on the chronos. Ema Rava Eza Davish Shalosh Haviyama Ela Chronos. Ema V'chipa Raf Bishloi Nasan Ela Achas L'mayla V'shalosh Lamata. Okay, so you're telling me you need 3, so maybe 1 above and 3 below. Once you need 3, so 3 below and 1 above, but not that 1 is ma'akiv, but you need all 4. You don't find half and half. You don't find 1 below and 3. No, it's either all or nothing, I guess. All above or none below. And the Havamina is on Yom Kippur where they went ahead and they did this Rika. 1 was above the Kapiris and 7 were below. So there's no Kamatzleif, it wasn't that way. It was in front of the Arin or in front of the Parechas, and it was like giving a person what? Malchus. You were going one after the other, not necessarily one below, but each one below the next, but not 1 above and 7 below. It wasn't that above the Kaparis or below the Kaparis that you'd say 1 above the Chutas Sikra and 3 below the Chutas Sikra. My Kamatzleif, Machmir Rav Yehuda, Rav Yehuda said, the Kimidnagdana, as you go ahead and you give Malchus. Fred the Gemara. He's al Tirosh al Mizbeach Sheva Pamim. They would go ahead and be masa on the Tirosh al Mizbeach Sheva Pamim. Now the Havmina now is Tirosh is going to be the Mizbeach itself. My lava palge the Mizbeach, Kidamri Inshi, but as people say, Toher Tihara Diyama, that it's bright the time of the day, meaning it's half the chatzos, So therefore, it says over here, he's sprinkling on the Mizbeach. It means one above and seven below on the Mizbeach has Zahav. So l'chayra, you can make a raya that it's possible not to have some above and some below. Some Rabbi no. Rabbi Shila, it does not mean on the Mizbeach itself, because in the Mizbeach itself, even though it's very small, it's not possible to go ahead and be exact and get, oil below. It says, it means on the top of the Mizbeach, the part that's revealed. They would go ahead and they would take the ash of the Ketairis and separate it, clean it up, and they would put 7 times dots on the Mizbeach. Right? Shirayim, you see, is the part was done inside. Shirayim was poured outside. So you see, it's possible 2 different locations. So, and Shirayim le ma'akva says, and Shirayim's not ma'akiv. So therefore, there's not a kasha from that, because if you don't do Shirayim, it's not ma'akiv the carbon. There are those who do say that if you don't throw the Shirayim on the side, it is ma'akiv by the Mizbeach chatas penimius. That's what it says b'chad makom kaminan. We're only speaking that above and below, not 2 different locations, inside and outside. We're speaking, you never find the Mizbeach, either the Mizbeach HaZav or the Mizbeach HaNechoshes, the Mizbeach HaDama. In the Azara, you don't find anything above and anything below. So we've proven the Shita of what? Of Beis Hillel, that the Chiper, Nislach Lo, the Chiper of Nislach Lo, the Chiper of Nislach Lo, the Slicha is speaking about the Kapara. Therefore, the Chiper is extra to tell me if I do 3 and I don't do 1, I only do 1, I don't do 3. The Chiper, even though you don't do this one, the Chiper you don't do this one, the Chiper you don't do this one, then you have the Beis Hillel Shita, that one will be the job, either Yeshem the Mesiris, or the Mesiris Lamikra, or the Chiper, the Chiper, the Chiper. Says Gemara, Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Oimer, Beishamai Oimim, Shtei Matane Shebechatas, Ve'achas Shebechol HaZevachim, Matirois Umefaglois. Let's see Rashi. Shtei Matane Shebechatas Matirois. Again, that Beishamai Shita is you need two sprinklings, called 2 daubings. Kol Zman Shloi Nitin Shtayim Lechutra Imurim HaKtorah. That the matir to burn the part that goes to Hashem is the putting of the blood. It's kol zman. You didn't put the 2, then you can't go ahead and bring the imurim. V'lo basal achila, and memela came out to the basal achila, which is done after the imurim. Umefaglois im nasan shteim b'machshava pigel. If you put 2 of them in machshava pigel, then it's pigel. Aval achas b'shtika v'achas b'machshava. But if you put 1 b'shtika and 1 b'machshava, like pigel, won't be pigel. Shem b'faglim b'chatzi matir. In other words, that the full matir according to Beis Shammai is 2. The male, if you have a shtik in 1 and pigel also, you only have pigel and chatzi matir. Like Beis Hillel, it does 1, so if you have pigel and 1 machshava, it would create pigel. But like Beis Shammai, not so. Nachamol Beis Shammai, I'm shnei matan shebechatas yachash shebechol hazvachim matirois. It matters the burning of the imurim, and as a result, the basal achila. And it would create pigel. It matters the imurim to be burnt. It would appear over here that Beis Hillel is machmir, because what's he doing? He's saying that it's shaykh pigel by 1, like Beis Shammai, it's only shaykh pigel by 2, and the Mishnah and the Mishnah Masechta Idiyos that goes ahead and lists all the cases where Beis Shammai is Mekel and Beis Hillel is Machmir. So this should be one of the places, and we don't say that. Because again, the Chumrah would be that Beis Hillel is Mefagel and 1 Matir, and Beis Shammai says you need 2. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rava said to Rabbi Shia, Ki itchol latira itchol. And we learned this in the Matir, the Avalei Beis Shammai l'Chumrah. We learned this in to matter the Murim, the Beis Hillel, it's a kula. After one daubing, it matters the Murim, and Mela the Basal Achila. Like Beis Shammai, it's going to be 2. So in Mela, it's Beis Shammai l'Chumrah, Beis Hillel kula, and therefore it's not listed in the Mishnah in Idiyos. Okay. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Sholosh matana shebechatos eina bos b'layla. Again, we said the one. Once you do the job, right? Once you do the job, so l'chayra, let's say nighttime is not the time of bringing a carbon. So why would you not be able to go ahead and bring the other 3? If you're telling me b'di'evid, once you do 1, the carbon is merutza, it's accepted. So you should be able to go ahead and do the other 3 at night. And the answer is Rashi tells us you can't, because once the Shkiyas Achama, the dam becomes puzzle, so you can't do it at night. Ubos la'achad misa, and it would come after misa. We say chata shemesa ba'alecha, right? It said it's if the owner died, that's one of the five chatas that you go ahead and you don't go ahead and bring it because saying chatas la'chamisa. So l'chayr, if you do one, can you sprinkle the other three? And the answer is once you did one, it's a kosher carbon, and the mele you could do the other three, and that's what it means. The other three can come after if the owner died between the first daubing and the other three, you'd bring the other three. But nonetheless, the halacha being ma'ila b'chutz, this is still considered zrika, and if you do a b'chutz, it will be you'll be chayiv. When like shchutei chutz, you be chayiv kares. Amar Papa, yesh mehen kitchilasai, v'yesh mehen kiseifai. But these three, some have like a din like the first one, and some have a din like the end. Like no, in other words, we'll see the different halachas right now. So, for example, chutz v'layla, regarding the halacha of chutz and regarding the halacha of layla, right? They're considered like the first one. The Zoros regarding a Zor doing the Avoida and the Michayev Misa, because it's an Avoida Tama, that's the final Avoida, they would be Michayev Misa. Klishares, you would need a Klishares for these other three. Keren, you have to put it on the horn. Ve'etzba, and you would have to use your finger to put it down. And kibbutz, and regarding if it gets in a beged of a chatas, a special halacha that it's kodesh, you have to go ahead and launder it. These three, if even after you do one, these other three, and it gets in the beged, would have a din of kibbutz. You have to wash it in makom kodesh. B'shirayim, and if there's anything left in the cup, right, even these three, you'd have to go ahead and put it on the side of the mizbeach. So all these kalachos kitchilasim, they have a din of tchila, that it's the first, like the first one. However, regarding Misa, it doesn't have a din. The first one, you would not be able to put after Misa. The other three, you could. So regarding Misa, v'lo sharia, and the ability to mat the basar. Again, once you did one, it matters the basar, the murim and the basar. And mela, the other three don't accomplish that. V'lo mefagla, there's machshava pigel, and the other three would not be a machshava of pigel. Why? Because already it's merutza, so the carbon was a good carbon. And it would not passel the carbon if you take the blood inside. If you take all the blood inside, it passes the carbon. The chatas, especially the dafka chatas, bringing it inside passels. But if you did one daubing and then you bring the other three times, it doesn't passel. Where do I know this din from? That the Indian kibbutz, that the other three require kibbutz, that none. Nitis minat savar ala beged. If you did a shchita of a carbon chatas and it spread, it went from the neck of the animal on a beged, ain't a toin kibbutz. Since you didn't have a kabbalah, it does not require laundering. Minat keren umene yisoid. However, once you put it on the keren or yisoid and you got on the beged, ain't a toin kibbutz. It's not, it doesn't need kibbutz. Mashma haroi l'keren, even though it's not necessary, but it's royal l'keren. Then what? Then toy kibbutz. So that's the diak of Rapapa. Says Rapapa, how do I know all four? It's a din of kibbutz. Well, the first one's obvious. The latter three, how do you know the latter three is din of kibbutz? We want to make a diak. Once it's on the keren and the yisoid, and then it gets on the garment, then there's no din, a special din of laundering. Mashen came, if it's roy to go on there because the other three are roy mitzvah, then what? You would need din of kibbutz. According to your reasoning that you're saying, many yisoid ain't a time kibbutz. Once it gets on the yisoid and then it would get on a garment, it does not require laundering. Hamina royal yisoid, but something that's royal yisoid, time kibbutz. Mashma, according to your diak, let's make the same diak. Only because it's on the yisoid does it not need a diak, but royal yisoid, meaning after the three, then it's royal kibbutz, and that's the case, right? Says then l'chayra, you would say that royal yisoid would require kibbutz. And if you're going to make that diuk, the halach is not correct. Because the pasuk says, "Vashayiza midama ala beged, asher yiza leha ksiv, vashminon prat lezeh shekvar huza." In other words, it has to be that it will be gespritz, not that it was gespritz, not past tense. So we see that it's not true. But according to diuk, the diuk should be that once it's roy the yisoid, it should be, and it's not true because already you did the zrikas. Hamani, who's the Tan of this? The Gemara says, it's Kreb Nechemia, the Tan of Nechemia Omer, Shiori Adam Shekrivu Bachutz, that shirayim of dam that you bring bachutz, you chayiv. So in other words, this is the shita of a yachid, and wouldn't be not, the halach would not be in conjunction. So it's only Reb Nechemia who holds Shiori Adam would need kibbutz. Mashen came the Chachamim, who says that once the spritzing's done, there's not any kibbutz. So Reb Papa, you have no raya. This is your raya. You want to bring that what that needs kibbutz is according to Reb Nechemia. We don't hold like Reb Nechemia. Says Gemara. When we say Reb Nechemia says that shiori blood is considered blood, that's the Indian bringing it outside by schutz. Midi dehave evorim pedorim, just like the evorim and the pedorim and the fats. If you bring outside, after you bring the carbon chayiv, then you kibus mishamalei. How do you know then you kibus that it would hold that way? Enochinami, only Indian halah is considered blood, but maybe the Indian kibus is not considered blood. Says we're in. Nechemia says it is considered blood. Where do you see that? Amid Aleph. But Tanya is a raya that's considered blood. Damim hatunim yisoid, tunim kibus. Umachshavam ayelas behem. Damim that require to be put on the yisoid. They require laundering. Umachshavam ayelas behem. V'amalim imahutz chayev. The dam hanishbachal la'amba, but the dam that's not going to be put on the yisoid, the dam that's going to go in the canal, going outside the mizbeach, ain't tunim kibus, ain't machshavam ayelas behem. Okay. Man shama leidam amayla behem chutz chayev zem nechemia to come out toyin kibus umachshav. Okay, it needs kibus. So l'choy you have a raya that even not only living in mayla b'chutz, but even mat inyan toyin kibus, he would hold it still considered dam. But the chomim who said amayla b'chutz be pata after you did everything, right, would also hold that what it's not considered dam. If it's not considered dam, it would not need kibus, and therefore the papa has no raya.